The last item on your junior year checklist is to create or upload a resume. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a time-consuming task, but this is probably one of the more important tasks on any of the checklists because it's something that you can take with you and continue to add and edit. A resume is something that you are going to need for any job or career that you apply for in the future. So having one started and knowing how to create one that looks professional and includes the correct information is a vital component to having a successful start to your career. So if you have a resume that is already completed, you've already made one, there is a way to upload one. All you have to do is come down to My Resumes, add a file, and you can upload a file for a resume that you've already created. Maybe you have a Word document saved on your computer of one you've already made. If you do not have one made, this program does a really great job of walking you through the steps of creating one and then kind of generating it for you. So you're going to come up here to the start. You're going to work your way through this whole list of information. So the first thing it's going to ask you is your education history. It's going to ask you for the information about your school. So let's say Tolleson Union High School, the address for the school. All of this information you can find on Tolleson's website. What day did you start at the school? So if you're a senior this year in 2020, that means you would have started as a freshman in 2016. So I started in August of 2016. And now you will graduate in May of 2020. Our last day is the 29th. There we go. We don't have a major or a degree because obviously this is still high school. So I'll save that. And there it saves your information. Any licenses and certificates that you hold, so if you have been a part of WestMech or if you have been a part of any technical programs while you've been in high school and you currently already hold a license or certificate, this is not talking about a driver's license. This is talking about something that you have gone out and procured on your own that makes you certified to do something specific. Workshops and trainings, if you've done any kind of training in a specific field that makes you more marketable, you want to add that to your resume. And any standardized tests that you've taken. So maybe you took the ACT. This will give you a list of some common tests that already exist. If you took the ACT, if you took the ASVAB, any of those. If you intend to take any of these tests and you haven't taken them yet, you can also include those on your resume. So let's just say you've already taken the ACT and you already have a score. You're going to indicate what day you took the test, whatever day that was. You don't need to include a time, the location, all of that. And then in the results and notes, I would just include maybe the score that you received on that test. Let's just say you got a 27 on your ACT and save. So there's that information. Then it's going to come down here and ask you about your work history. If you have had any job currently or previously while you've been in high school, you would include that information here. So maybe I worked at Sonic. You can include the address of your work location if you want to. Anything with a red star is required. Anything that doesn't have a red star is not required. So let's just say I started that job last summer. After school got out, cool, and I am currently still working there. To present just means that you are still at that location. If you've received any kind of a pay increase, meaning they gave you a promotion or they added to your pay because you were doing a great job, you might want to indicate that because that's going to show something to a future employer that, hey, this job really valued you and thought you were worthy of more money. How many hours did you work per week? What was your job title? So maybe I was a car hop at Sonic. I was bringing food out to the customers. They're going to want to know your supervisor. So this is the boss that you currently work for. And then duties that you performed. So what was the types of jobs that you had to do? Any highlights or accomplishments that you had for that job? So maybe you got employee of the month or something along those lines. If any of that happened while you were at this job, definitely want to include that. And then last but not least, if you are not still working that job, they're going to want to know why you left. You want to make this as professional as possible. So if you left, maybe you just really didn't like your boss or you didn't like the job, find a way of wording that that's more professional than just saying you didn't like it. So save that information. All of that will be saved for you. Any other jobs, keep adding to it. Any volunteer or community service work that you have completed, maybe you did something with your church or a group at school, you can include that. If you've been a part of the military in any way, maybe ROTC, things like that, or if you are currently enlisted in one of the branches of the military, you can include that. Achievements, activities, and skills. So again, just clicking through, these would probably be achievements you've made in school. So if you made the honor roll, or you were selected as an outstanding senior, you were named the captain of your sports team, any of those kinds of achievements, you want to list those here. Activities, anything that you've participated in while you've been in high school. So a sports team, a club, a group outside of school, maybe with your church or a social group, something that you've participated in, add those information here. Last but not least, it's going to ask you for your contact information and personal references. So here you have your personal information. It's going to ask you for some email address, all of that kind of stuff. And then references. These need to be adults that are not your family. They're going to look for people who can vouch for your character, people who can vouch for your work experience, people who will give you a good recommendation. So this might be a teacher, a counselor, a coach, maybe somebody at your church or a family friend who you've babysat for. Any of those kinds of people are good people to look for as a reference. You do want to make sure that you ask people before you write them down as a reference, because employers may call them and ask for a reference check. So you want to give them a heads up that that may be coming. So you'll add those references there. Once you've filled in all of these different components, you're going to come down here to format and create your resume. You will start with a recent grad resume style, since you will be recent graduates. From there, you click next. Make sure you have all of these checked unless there was something that you did not include. So for example, I don't have any military experience, and maybe I didn't participate in any volunteer or community service work. So I'm just going to leave those two categories unchecked. I don't need those on my resume. You don't want to have a section that has nothing underneath it. So if you didn't include anything in any one of these sections, then just uncheck it so it won't be included on your resume. Down here, select which type of format you want it to be saved in, depending on what kind of computer you have or what works for you. And then name that file, and then you're going to hit Save Resume. And when you save it, it's going to come here. It'll show as a document that you have saved in your ECAP, and you can also access it to print it, download it, save it. Obviously, I didn't fill in all the categories, so the only information that I provided is on there. And you can save it, print it, send it to employers, whatever you need to do. So from there, if I come back up to my ECAP checklist, it will show that my resume is complete.